What up, everybody? It's the Built Different Podcast, the usual suspects, Justin, Sean, myself. We did something at the beginning of the year. We talked about our goals for 2023, and so we kind of want to do a mid-year check-in and let everybody know where we're at with everything. We want to be transparent about the highs and the lows of our business. We want to bring everybody along on the journey, the roller coaster ride, the ups and downs. So, with that being said, 2022 we wrapped that up. 2023 we put some targets out there. So Sean, how comfortable are you, or where do you think we are with as far as targets? Did this first half of the year, would you say let's start with maybe some of the great things that have happened. What are some of the things that you've seen, maybe even learned this year so far, that fit with what we wanted to accomplish when we started in 2023 with our podcast?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different parts of our company that have really done well in the year of 2023. I think one of the first ones has been our content. The podcast it started in 2022, but it's kind of continued on in 2023. I like the content that we put out on our podcast. I like, the content that we've been putting out on social media. And I think it's something that we've gotten a lot more comfortable with, and we're starting to share more. We're starting to, we've gotten very consistent with it. An episode, this podcast comes out every Friday now. And we try to get reels out there, and we're hoping that kind of reflects into more following and more engagement, because there are people that are watching this podcast and watching the reels and stuff, and we want to hear from them. We want to have this kind of relationship with our potential client, like future clients, or anyone who's interested in what we're doing. And I think it's going to be even better later this year when we kind of start revealing more about our product and kind of the future of where Extropian's going. And then that leads me into the next part of it, which is the manufacturing. I think there's been a lot of positive movement on that end. There's
Mm-hmm.
been some redesigns of our boards, and just partnering with other companies who've been able to help us greatly and move forward and moving towards trying to accomplish our goal of getting this product out there by the end of the year. um, Justin, how about you? What things have you seen on your side that have been kind of like positive movement from the company, or things that you were impressed with?
For me, working on the data side, that's still something I did a little bit so far this year, but with the main data stuff that I'll be working with, I think that's going to be happening the second half of the year. But even just a little bit that I've gotten to work with, and like looking at the patents and working with Bhuvanesh, who's the other data scientist, it's been really cool to really kind of see like behind the scenes of how some of our technology is working, kind of seeing how what's in the patents and trying to see how that works together. So that's been really interesting, and it's been cool to finally get my hands dirty on stuff like that. I'm looking forward to that. And then of course, the podcast has been really cool to see it grow and to become more refined. I think at first we were all kind of just stumbling around in the dark a little bit, trying to figure out what we were doing. But I think we found our pattern, we found our structure, and it's worked out really well for us. Um, and then even like with our the sponsored athletes that we work with, it's been very cool to see like their growth and seeing how they've like grown in their own careers, and even seeing like Coach Ronnie and Coach EJ, the seeing them wear our sponsored athlete shirts. I think they turned out so good. Seeing them in person, I kind of want one honestly. But yeah, so I think we've grown a lot in the last 6 months, and it's been a little slow in some areas, but in some areas, I think things have really picked up a lot, and I'm very excited for the next half of the year.
Ricky, how about you? What has there been any things that you've been really proud of, or things that we've accomplished over the past 6 months that stand out to you?
Yeah, I think Justin mentioned one of them, the patents. We obtained one last year, around this time, almost last year. No, it was a little earlier in the year, but we got two more, picked up two more. One through working with Georgia Tech, and then another one that was, something that we worked on. So yeah, we're up to three now, and hopefully four. That's something to always be proud of because that's a long and grueling process. It gives you company a sense of security, and like Justin said, it's something that he could look through and start utilizing some of the the algorithms and some of the formulas in there. Um, I don't know. I guess also too. I would say I'm proud of both of you guys and just growth. You know what I mean? Everything that you guys are mentioning, Sean, you were mentioning. All the different things you've done, like our financial projections is another thing you didn't mention that we've done. And just Justin, getting your hands dirty with more of the data and helping out every which way with the podcast, and then the podcast as well has been great. I think each one of us, I was talking, especially talking to Sean about it, but hearing your voice for the first time and kind of seeing yourself is kind of it's weird, you know what I mean? So getting used to that and just putting out content consistently. I was watching Gary V video, and it's like he started putting out content from the beginning with his wine company. And in this podcast, it was like, that's how your audience gets to know you. That's how your potential consumers get to know you, and how they become more comfortable with you because they know the people that are actually building the product that they're using. So really, really happy with that. And the investor game, like what I mean. We've gotten a little bit more familiar with that and how to kind of navigate those waters, who to look for, what type of people would be interested in investing us, and kind of whittling it down and reaching out to those individuals and getting our decks and stuff together, which you guys have both been phenomenal in helping with.
And
So,
Ricky,
um, mhm,
oh,
go ahead.
you mentioned the decks and you mentioned investor pitching and stuff like that, and we've talked about this before. A year ago,
Hmm.
last June 2022, we had people asking us for our decks, and there was some people where we didn't even feel good enough about our decks at that point to send them to people. And compare that
Hmm.
to where we are now. I think all three of us have helped out and worked on the decks together and
Yeah.
kind of built them up, and I think they look incredible. I think when we send those decks out now to people, it's like damn, like this company knows what they're doing. Like we've gotten very positive feedback from people. So I
Hmm.
think you hit that right on the money, and all three of us have worked on that, and it's kind of all of our babies. So it's nice to see people when people get to see it and they're like, "Wow, you guys did so good! Like, how did you learn to do this?" And we're just like, "Oh, we did it."
Well, that goes back to what I was saying about growth. Like we've all grown. You know, we've grown a lot since last year. Like look back at 2022 and like where we were. Like our mindset was very different at that point. Like we were talking about we were talking about investment, but we were also like trying to work more on our hardware, more on our software. Like there were other things that we were neglecting that we maybe didn't think about at that time. That's what I said. Like part of the growth is like you guys helping out. Like it's crazy how each one of us has been getting our hands dirty in every which way we need to, which is startup culture. You know what I mean? Like what I mean, Justin. If we need something and it's not in your wheelhouse, like, and we need you to get your hands in there, you've done it. And same with Sean. And I'm happy. One thing I think is we've gotten really good with our mentors as well, and getting going to the right people. And yeah, they've been super helpful, from Gino to Matthew to Dan to Chris, and other Daniel, and other people as well. But what I was going to ask you guys, where Justin, I'll start with you. Like, maybe what were some of the areas that you kind of pointed out early in the year? What that you think you've experienced the most growth? Like, maybe even more like getting more knowledge on and feel more comfortable now than you did last year.
Definitely more of like the behind the scenes kind of business administrative side of things, because this is my first
Hmm.
experience working with like being in like a startup and stuff, and getting to kind of not only see it but be a part of like how you're supposed to build a deck for an investor, or what financial projections are supposed to look like, things like that. I've never really had that kind of experience before, so that was interesting to kind of delve into and see, to think about what does an investor want to see on a deck, what are important things to include, and Things like that I think are very interesting. And even still, this year, or that was last year, but even like this year, working on like the business plan too, and trying to cater that to like the different areas that we might want to pivot to in the future. It's interesting to see how that sort of thing kind of works ultimately. And I mean, I hope going forward I can keep working with it because it's pretty interesting.
I,
How about
Justin, I
yourself,
think
Sean?
you,
Sorry, go ahead.
Justin, I
You
think you
can
brought
ask.
up a good point there, which is, not everyone knows this. I mean, people maybe who have put together pitch decks have. It's not always about what you want to see on there. It's what would an investor want to see on there. That's a big
Right.
difference because investors and you might not have the same priorities. Investors want to know how are they going to make back their money, how are you generating revenue, things like that.
Yeah.
And like, is what you're saying realistic? Are you promising things that are actually attainable? So a lot of that is, they don't necessarily want to see all the fluff and the marketing, like shiny, sparkly stuff. They want to see, like, okay, how am I going to get back what I'm putting into this? But yeah, I think Ricky, to answer your
Yeah.
question, um, things that I feel like I've grown in, yeah, I think one thing that I feel very good about and very confident with now is being able to kind of take more of a leadership role and being able to kind of like wear a lot of different hats at the same time. And it's like, my day to day isn't, my day to day in this company has never really been focused on one thing, but now it's like I'm able to kind of manage and, prioritize things and say, okay, this is what we kind of have to focus on. And like also we got to make sure this gets done, and just being able to do better time management and leadership organization, and also delegating. I think I've never been a great person at delegating, so being able to kind of say, hey, like, you know I trust the people that are working with us to do this or to do that, um, is something that I've been really trying to work on this year and get more comfortable with. How about you? Is there anything that you feel like you've really grown with this year, or things that have kind of like stood out?
For me, I think it's neg- I would say negotiations because now we're kind of entering. We've entered this investment, like seeking investment, part of our journey. So, like, I think I've told you guys before. Like, yeah, there's a lot of different negotiation tactics that are out there, and um, personally, like there's a lot of tells. Like it's like playing a card game, really. You know what I mean? When you're talking to anybody and you're trying to negotiate back and forth, and somebody that's experienced playing cards, they're gonna read your body language, read your eyes, read your like a big thing is like lifting your head or scratching your head, or different people do different things. So when we were having these discussions last year, I had some tells, you know what I mean? And luckily, like I said, I'm thankful for all of our mentors because, Gino would be like, dude, you look like you may have been holding something back, or maybe you look disingenuous when you do, but I'm like, nah, that's just my normal mannerisms. It's like, yeah, when you're at the table talking to people, make sure you do X, Y, and Z because you can be making them think this and say this way, say this that way. Um, you know, More than anything else, I think it's just confidence. Like I became more confident in negotiations and just overall because I think we've gotten so much further. We have such an amazing team. We have so many smart people that it's just like being confident about what we're talking about, being confident about what we're portraying to investors or to potential clients, and I think also too we've gotten better at me personally, and I think us as a team have gotten better at networking and talking to people, and because that's what this is all about is relationships and building the right relationships. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that I've enjoyed this year. I love, it's like playing a sport and you have a team. You know what I mean? You love seeing all the members of that team. Like love seeing how the team is constructed and each person playing their part. And so that's what I've really enjoyed and what I think I've grown a lot this year so far.
Yeah, and tying back in what you were talking about negotiations and stuff. I mean, man, I wish I
Mhm.
challenged you in poker before you fixed some of your tells. That would have been a smart idea. Um,
That's
but no, I think I completely agree with you as far as negotiations and getting better. I think um, you've definitely evolved in that, and also just like you said, confidence is probably one of the biggest influence, like biggest factors in that. And I think one thing that I've noticed with all of us, just with the team that we put together and with the product that we're working on and everything like and the vision of the entire company, we have so many great pieces and so many great people that we don't really have fear of failing because we believe in what we're doing. And that I think is what kind of takes that confidence to another level where it's like when you believe in the people and believe in the vision, then you shouldn't really be like you shouldn't have a lack of confidence at that point. And I think that's something that, like you said, is really, in you and all of us really has kind of evolved to the next level this year.
Yeah, and you pointed something out with the decks. Both of you did that. We're more confident in showing it, and it's because of all the hard work we've put in, and like it's also the conversations we've had with people. Like, how many people have we shown this off to? Obviously, audience that's listening to us, we still got to show it to you guys, but how many people have we heard from, and they're just like impressed with what we have, and they, one of the things I love hearing is I've never seen anything like this before. Like, and that's the goal of what we're doing is like we know we're doing something. The patents bring that confidence as well. We know that we have something that nobody else has really put out there on the market yet, and that we can capitalize on that opportunity to be the first to do it. So that's where that confidence comes in as well. But yeah, like speaking of growing, like yeah, we've all grown, and I'm very interested to see where we all go by the end of the year. If we've grown, by leaps and bounds so far this year, where we're going to be at the end of the year, Um, what are some of the things that you like? Obviously we kind of put our target out there last year. Things don't always go as quickly, as smoothly and quickly as you want them to go. What are maybe some of the lows that we've had this year that you wish we were a little further in? I'll start with you, Sean.
Um, I think the obvious one is I wish we had more money, but I think every company ever says they wish they had more money. So, but I think uh, one thing that I've learned throughout this process is that the process of getting investors is not an easy thing. Even with a great product, even people who have incredible sales numbers and stuff, like getting people to put their money up is still not easy. So um, that is, a challenge, and it's something that we've been going through for a while. But it's something that I would say we've made a lot of progress, but it's still getting to that finish line. It's like where you got to try to look ahead and see the end of the road, and I think that's something that it's like we're so close, but it's like I wish we were a little closer. But other than that, I
Hmm.
think the only other thing I could think of is from a social media presence and from a engagement presence. I love, like I said earlier, I love the content that we're putting out now, and I do feel like, and this is something that we've tried for a while. We want to be an authentic, transparent company that is, open with the people that are following us, open with the people that are engaging with us, and in order to do that, we need more people to engage with us. We'd love to see more people commenting, more people following, more people subscribing. We have an Instagram, a YouTube, a TikTok, Twitter. All of those links are in our bio if anyone's listening and wants to check them out. But we want to engage with people. We want to design this product in a way that is going to benefit as many people as possible. And I think that's kind of one thing that I think could be better is trying to be more engaging with people and grow that following a little bit more.
Yeah, and before I go to you, Justin, yeah, touching on what you said, Sean, like, yeah, no, we want that engagement because, it fits with our name. The name is Extropian, and the definition that we put out, that was kind of existing, but we refined is we're bettering humanity through utilizing technology, and we want to be that technology that pushes humanity forward, and we believe we have that technology. And so that's what the engagement about is about as well. We want, obviously, I haven't shown off the product yet, but we want people's feedback. Like, what are they looking for in a wearable technology? What are they looking for as far as data that would be impactful for them in their everyday life or their specific sport or industry? So I agree with you there, Sean. Justin, how about yourself?
I agree with everything Sean said about seeking investment and getting more engagement. It's I think it's very natural to want those things and to want them fast, but sad reality is that it takes patience and you gotta just wait it out. But I think we have a lot of good things in the works regarding both of those things. So I think that there's a lot of good potential there. I think for me, the only other thing that I would add, you kind of touched on it, Ricky, is I mean, I kind of wanted us to be able to show off the product a little bit more by now, like to actually have like a reveal. But again, I guess it
Hmm.
kind of back to the patience thing and just making sure the timing is right. Because once we do show it off, I want us to do it right. I don't want us to rush into it, and maybe it's not the not the best product launch or the best reveal that it could have been, And so I was hoping we would get to it, but I mean, if I had to choose between like a release that isn't quite what we wanted versus taking a little bit longer, but it being done well and it's exciting and it looks cool, then I would prefer that. So um, all of those things take time. To it takes patience, but I think in the second half of the year we'll get pretty much all of those things. I think I'm hopeful.
Indeed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I agree with you,
Cool.
Justin. And I think too, like not only releasing the product and showing the people that follow us more about what we're doing, but then also like taking the next step and making it available to them too. Because it's
Mm.
learning about what we're doing is step one, but then getting it in their hands and letting them experience it. The experience is going to be what I think changes lives and changes a lot of the way things are done right
Yeah.
now. But um, the first step is the release and getting people as excited about this as we are. So I completely agree with what you were saying there. And Ricky, what about you? Was there anything that you feel like we could have done better maybe in the past 6 months, or things that you'd like us to do better on in the next 6 months or so?
I think a lot of things that could have been done better. There's quite a few on my part. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's things that I could have done better personally. Yeah, and then as far as like what you guys were saying with you know, showing off the product, I would love to have shown it off already. I feel the patents obviously cover us to a degree. So happy about that, and happy that we're getting more of those in. Um, but yeah, like Justin was saying, I want to do this the right way as well. I think once we do reveal it, like you said, Sean, it's gonna people are gonna see how this type of product can change lives. Like every time we show it off, people kind of what I really like about showing it to people, the people we've shown it to, is that they put themselves like they automatically see themselves using it, and they say, "Man, I would use it for whatever activity, whatever health related issue they might have." They always kind of visualize that right off the bat, and to me, that means that the average consumer would understand and be able to utilize this to however they want to. And that's why we built the technology the way we built it is that um, it's very customizable. You can experience the technology the way you want to experience it. So that's why I'm going to be really excited about showing it off and starting to get feedback from people, getting into the hands of people. The investment is obviously we all mentioned that, but yeah, getting that in is huge. I would love to have had it on January 1st, obviously. Damn cousin keeps calling me, man. If you watch this podcast, sometimes I'm not gonna. If I send you the voicemail, it's because I'm doing something. Why people keep calling over and over again. Anyhow, but yeah, I think that the investment is probably number one. It's like my number one goal right now and priority, along with us getting the technology to the point that we get into people's hands. But a CEO of the company is like fundraising, and I'm not thinking like A. I'm thinking B, C, D. Like got to be thinking like way ahead of time. But I think Justin, you pointed out something like the timing. Timing being right, and maybe earlier in the year wasn't the right time. Maybe we needed to get some things figured out, and but I feel like more than ever, like, and especially some of the talks that we're having, that the time is now. Like, the capital's coming here pretty soon, and um, I would love to kind of going back to what I would like is, would have liked to have happened was to have the team built out a little further. You know what I mean? But that will come in due time with the capital because, we have an amazing team now. We have some crazy bright minds on this working in the company, but yeah, we want to recruit more. You know what I mean? We want to build that Super Bowl or Champions League winning team. And I think the people that we've brought in and shown it to, because Sean, we've had a lot of people offer their services to work with us. But yeah, I think we'll be recruiting some really amazing people along with the ones we already have, and that's I can't wait for that.
One thing I was going to
Uh,
ask you guys, and maybe we could touch on that. I think maybe you guys would know more about is, this is like a mid-year progress update for the company, but what about like a progress update on our actual technology? Has there been any big updates as far as the technology goes that you guys can speak to, or anything new that you've learned about from Dr. Yao, or just because you guys went to, did you guys go to Georgia Tech earlier this year? I can't remember.
In April.
In April,
yeah, we were
yeah.
there in
So
April.
updates, yeah.
Ricky,
I
I'll let
would
you go first.
I would say yeah, thanks, Sean. I would say that a lot of those new developments, a lot of the new information that we've acquired is around manufacturing.
Mhm.
The crazy thing is Sean and I, and you, well, I guess you could say you're a little bit on the technology side with data, but we're not technologists, so getting to learn like about circuit design and things that works, things that don't work, tolerances, board layout, battery capacity and what drives that. That's the beautiful thing, and we both kind of all touched on it, and I touched on it as well, talking about getting our hands dirty is like how much we learn. You know what I mean? So even on the design side, and manufacturing side, and technology side, I think we've learned a lot, and we've we've gotten a partnership. Superior and Ken and their group have been fantastic, and you know we've learned a lot. And Sean, I'll kind of pass it to you on the technology side, what you've kind of picked up and gathered.
Yeah, I think we've gotten some really good updates recently, and like Ricky said, I think one of the best things that has happened with regards to the technology side has been some of the relationships that we've built and some of the partners
Yes.
that we've acquired. Ken and Superio have been incredible. Georgia Tech and Yao's group there, and some of his students have been extremely helpful. We had a meeting recently with one of his students who was incredibly talented, helpful, and yeah, I think uh, on the other side of it, I think um, the technology is constantly, evolving and trying to get better. There's a ton that I've learned, and I would say Ricky would say the same with, board design and like uh, uh, optimizing the board so that it works the most efficient way possible. And like even recently, we had someone be like, "Oh, like like so there's like like a couple like chips that go into this board," and we're like, maybe a little more than a couple. So it's like I think Ricky's talked about this before, which is that people don't realize how much stuff goes into daily electronics that people use, like your watch, your phone. There is so much stuff that goes into making that thing that when you call your phone, like, oh, this stupid phone, like that phone is so intricate and so delicate, the way that everything's put together and that it all works together, and the tolerances and the voltage and everything that goes into it, that it is so impressive. And I think I've grown a great appreciation for technology as a whole through this process.
I would second what you said as well. Yeah, like you start looking, it made me start to look at everything around us, and just even the thought of it being like everything that we use was somebody's vision. It started in somebody's head. You know what I mean? And to see like kind of what started in my head and what's in everybody else's head, like that we add to this thing and seeing it like play out and seeing. I mean, it goes through so many different processes from the schematic of it to the then design of it to the then actually trying to produce it and then testing it. I mean, it really gives you a newfound appreciation for everything we use and the process that somebody had to go through to do that. I think as well, like we've also one of the good things we've also kind of refined like what our thoughts are on like manufacturing and how we scale this. You know what I mean? Sean can attest like how many people we've called, how many different groups we've engaged with, and how many like we just kind of narrowed things down and filtered it down. Last year you know we had no idea, you know what I mean, at certain points until the end of the year. I think we start to hone in on some things, but yeah, this year has been all about like refining and figuring out exactly what we want to do and building those relationships with manufacturers, with printing companies, with even some of the chip manufacturers and the companies that third parties that sell components. It's been crazy, but I think we've gotten ourselves to a point where we're comfortable and we know exactly how we're going to do this, and most importantly, the cost behind that. And yeah, it's been a bit of a revelation this year, and talking to everybody that we've talked to and figuring out what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Yeah, like from my end, I don't know how much we want to give away now, but even looking at our decks and seeing the things we put down for like future work or things that our future
Hmm.
devices will be able to do, just reading about some of the things that are kind of in the pipeline and seeing the research that's attached to it is very exciting. And I feel like it's again, it's hard for me to talk about because I don't want to give it away, but some of the things that I feel like are very important to performance and living a healthy lifestyle, there's a good chance we might be able to help out with in the future, which is very exciting. So just learning about the new features that are kind of in the works for what we're doing is it's exciting.
Yeah, we start thinking ahead, you know what I mean, and we're lucky enough to work with an amazing research group that has kind of already had like some real futuristic research done that we're going to be able to add to our technology onto our platform, and that's the beauty of the relationship that we have right now. And yeah, the future's super bright for us. I mean, from different industries that we're able to impact and how many lives we're able to change, and I really think our technology it does have the ability to save lives as well. And that's the beauty of what we're doing.
And
Well,
yeah, I want to give Ricky some props too, because looking back at some of these patents that we're getting, some of the patents and stuff that we're working with, there's things that Ricky wrote down, what, 3 years ago, maybe even before that, 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
20 4 or 5 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and there are things on there that he's thought of that like we are now starting to think like, oh, like this should be implemented, and it's like you thought of it 5 years earlier than like like just the forward thinking that you had and the vision that you had way back then to now seeing it start to be built into, okay, we're planning to incorporate it like at this is like very impressive. So I just wanted to give you some kudos for that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, no, it makes me feel good because some of the things that we put in the patent, and I gotta pass another kudos off to Roy, our IP attorney, because he helped with so many of those things. You know what I mean? But yeah, you hear a lot of buzzwords and like companies saying like even some of the stuff. I think you sent me something the other day, and I sent you something as well, where people are like, "Man, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this? Like, if this sport had this, or you had the ability to track that?" And we're doing that already. Like it's in our patent. Like it was thought up like 4 or 5 years ago. It's it's all of these things that you're kind of seeing as buzzwords now is like something that we put in our patent years ago, and that's what feels really good. Is like we're future proofing. I mean, the technology already futuristic, but we're future proofing it like years down the line. Because eventually somebody's gonna follow up. But we want our name to be. It's almost like my mom calls every rideshare service Uber. You know what I mean? There's how many different rideshare services. People even call taxis Ubers now. You know what I mean? But that's what I think we're gonna have is that brand recognition. That's what we're trying to build through this audience is having that brand recognition where um, people call these competitors our product name. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, that's. Thank you, Sean, for the kudos there, and yeah, I was extremely happy about that.
So what are your
So, what
what
would
are
you
your
guys? Sorry, Justin, you had a question?
no, yeah, I was just gonna say, so what, like, for the second half of the year, what's kind of like your goals, or your short term goals and your long term goals for the rest of the year?
Sean, I'll let
Ricky,
you
take
start
this
with
away.
that. Oh, you want me to get it? Okay. Um, investment number one. We got to get
Yeah,
capital in. We got to build out our team. There's a lot of man and woman power that we need. Um, so that's number one. Number two for me is like revealing the product and getting some feedback on it. Um, and I would love to actually have something done where we could actually attend CES. That's always been my dream to kind of go out to CES and be amongst all the other technologies that I've always appreciated, that I've loved. I've watched CES like since it's like I won't say since its inception, but very early on, and I love seeing all of the new technologies and stuff that are out there. And then lastly, like it kind of fits with what I said as well about the reveal, but growing our audience, like we want to build a movement, we want to build a following, and I think our technology is not like anything else, and I think that the relationships that consumers will have with our technology is going to be extremely different than other companies. I want the relationship that they have with all of us on this call and our entire team to be different. We want to be transparent, like Sean said, and we want to have like a grassroots movement and following. We want to be, a household name and a bumper sticker business where people have our Extropian logo on their cars or on their windshields or their laptops, thermoses. That's what I would love to start seeing happening in the second half of the year.
nice. I
Sean, how
agree.
about you?
Yeah, I agree with what Ricky said. I think, my two things that I really want to see second or that I'm looking forward to for the second half of the year, product reveal is number one. I think, getting that out and getting people to see that is going to be incredible. It's going to be, a very happy day for us and, hopefully a lot of excitement from all of you who are watching or, may watch this in the future. And then the other thing I'm really excited about is just the content that we're putting out. I know Justin did a lot of work, and we have a lot of really good topics and ideas for future podcast episodes, and I'm really excited to kind of do all of those and continue to kind of evolve this podcast into something that's really great. Justin, what? How about you? Do you want to finish this off?
Yeah, definitely the investment side of things. That's going to be really exciting once that gets in, because then we can really start getting things going.
Yeah.
Definitely, I agree with like the marketing or the social media side of things, bringing like more followers to this and bringing more interest to what we're doing. And we have, I mean, we've kind of talked about it, but we have some special guests that we might be getting on the podcast soon, which will be really exciting. I think that will, I think that'll be really cool to see and get to talk to them about, our technology and sports and analytics, things like that. So I'm very excited for those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be. We've made leaps. I think we've grown leaps and bounds, like both professionally and as a company. Personally, I should say, and as a company, I can't imagine what we'll be in December when we do our wrap up for
Yeah,
2023. Like, I want us to essentially under promise and over deliver, which I think we have the capability of doing. So I'm really excited for the next few months ahead. I'm really excited about what the audience is, what the audience is going to be seeing and what we're going to be able to show to you guys. And, like we've been saying throughout this call, we want to build a movement and a following. And yeah, we're ready to make this happen. So thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in. And thank you, Sean and Justin, continually for all your hard work and your belief in the company, belief in me as a leader, and belief in what we're going to be delivering to the end user. So with that being said, we'd like to thank everybody for following us and for listening to this. And we hope you have an awesome week. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week. And we hope you have a good weekend. Thank you.